has been approved by Outcasted OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Outcasted OC. As you can see, this week we are not joined by the guys because we are here for women's wrestling, and we are joined with special guest Wheezy Bland and Jazmin. We're going to talk about women's wrestling content creation, women's wrestling in general. But yeah, that's what we're here to do this week. So first, if you guys want to introduce yourselves, let people know where they can find you and things like that. Wheezy, do you want to go first?
Sure. Hi. Hello. My name is Wheezy Blonde. You can find me on TikTok. It's kind of where I started, where I have the biggest following. I also make YouTube videos, and I am a Twitch streamer.
Woo! Jazmin.
Hi, I'm Jazmin. I'm on TikTok and Instagram under Jazmin Wrestling.
Perfect. Right. Let's get into this. So we're going to talk about women's content creation first, or content creation in general. So we're going to start off with what got you into wrestling in general. So when did you first start watching wrestling, and what made you become a wrestling fan? Wheezy, do you want to go first?
Sure. I started watching wrestling when I was a kid, so I was about 7, 8 years old. I took a little bit of a break from the time I was 13 to about maybe 25, when you hit that teenage stage and, it's just not the cool thing to do anymore to watch wrestling. I bought into that. I got back into it around the time that Seth Rollins turned on the Shield, turned on Roman Reigns, was kind of when I got back into it, and it pulled me in, and I've been watching ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jazmin, what about you?
I found it when I was 8, and it was just on the TV randomly, and I just got hooked, and then went onto YouTube and was searching videos, and yeah, I've loved it ever since.
Nice. Courtney?
Yeah, so I started with the exact same with Jazmin. It was one day on the TV, my brother was watching it, and I wanted to see what it was, and he was like, no, Dad doesn't want you watching this, and I just sat and watched it with him for weeks on end, and it got to the point where he was like, oh, she's just going to watch it with me anyway. So I started watching when I was 7, and we would try and German suplex each other on the couch and just try and make all these wrestling moves ourselves. And then, as you say, I got really hooked when the Shield came in. I think it was at 2012, and I've been watching ever since. So yeah.
Nice. So I started watching in 2018. I'd never been interested in wrestling before, and then some friends from an ex-relationship were watching it while in our house, and I just got hooked then. Literally started watching it and never turned back. I found Becky Lynch and my life was my dad used to watch it when I was younger as well, and I used to remember seeing it on the TV, but I was never interested in it. I don't know what sparked that in 2018, where I was just I need to watch wrestling now for the rest of my life. But yeah, that's how that went. So yeah, moving on, I want to know everybody's favorite wrestlers. So if we just go in order, it'll just make it easier. So Courtney, then Wheezy, then Jazmin. We'll just go in that order.
Is it just exclusively women?
Exclusively women favorite wrestlers.
It's got to be that one up the top there. And I know that's your favorite too, G. So Becky Lynch. But yeah, no, she's definitely been a massive driving force in my life personally. She's helped me through a lot within my life, probably more than she will ever know. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her. So I have a massive amount of gratitude for her.
Yeah.
Two come off the top of my head immediately. I first start with Lita because she was pretty much the trailblazer when I was a kid. I wanted to be her. I used to pretend I was part of Team Extreme when I was a kid. I was I want to be like her. I was her for Halloween one year. My dad let me, and my aunt thought it would be funny to put me in a stuffed bra and give me the whole fit. And my dad's had an absolute cow. Beyond that, Bailey, as far as current, just because I feel our journeys have been very similar. I see a lot of myself in her, and I just admire where she's been able to go and do thus far.
Nice.
Absolutely.
I think Becky Lynch is definitely one of them, but the two that really got me into it are the Bella twins, or the Garcia twins. I will always just love them so much. They were the ones that got me into it, and I've loved them outside of wrestling now and all the things that they do. So the Bellas and Becky Lynch.
Nice. So as Courtney said, mine is Becky Lynch. She got me into wrestling. She was the one that instantly caught my eye when I started watching. And when I did start watching, obviously I found a lot of other women's wrestlers, and I was instantly also drawn to Paige, and I will forever have a lot of love for Paige and Saraya. She is like the representation of British for me, and I have so many feelings for her. I love her so.
Yeah, I feel the same when it comes to Dakota Kai as well too. Like, she's the only women's wrestler from New Zealand to actually be signed. So I always have like a very special place in my heart, because it's like you never thought that you could get to those stages in the wrestling industry if it wasn't for people like her who trailblazed the path. So just always will have a soft spot for her, and I really want to see her get pushed more.
Definitely. Agreed. Okay, so moving on. The next question I have in regards to content creation is, what made you start wrestling content creation? What was the thing that was like, I'm going to start posting videos about wrestling? Courtney, go.
We've actually all like spoken about this at nauseum before, but I honestly say this, and she gets like so like in awe every time I say it. But honestly, it was G. Like, I for a long time really wanted to start making content, and I couldn't find women that I wanted to emulate my content through. I found a lot of male content creators, which absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I feel like when you can't find yourself in a group of people and you can't see that, it makes you feel like that's not possible for you. So when I found the likes of G and Wheezy, I genuinely was like, we can do this, and we deserve to have a space in this platform as well. So you guys really inspired me to make content, and I put out my first video, and it was absolutely crap. It was terrible. But you don't get better by not. I know, but you don't get better by not practicing. So yeah, no, G and Wheezy were just absolute massive inspirations in me doing content.
I'm gonna cry.
Thank you. No, really, thank you. Like, when you hear stuff like that, it really does mean something. You don't always get to get back to people that say stuff like that, but it makes the things that you do and the time that you put into it really like worth something. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it shows that your content is definitely being pushed to the right people, and people appreciate it more than you know.
For sure. So I started fairly similarly. When I got on TikTok, I went viral for a lot of different things. I think I was making stuff about work. I was complaining about work. I was talking about living in the Midwest. You know, I was kind of bouncing all over the place and had things go viral. And I happened to make one random off video about a couple action figures that I had. It was just a TikTok trend about like, what's one thing that people don't know about you? I'm like, oh, I like wrestling. And I was wearing like a New Day shirt, and I had like a Stone Cold action figure. And then I kind of just dabbled in it and saw that there were people that were actually making like actual like wrestling TikToks. And I'm like, what's this? And there was a particular creator, Infamous Opinionist, Jade. He had made like a, who's your wrestling, he's like, who's your wrestling creator, Mount Rushmore? And he put me on there. And I was like, is that what I am? Is that what I do? And then I don't know. I just kind of started leaning into it and found a group of people and just kept going. And like, to your point of, you know, not seeing anyone like you doing this, I was like, there's a space for me. Like, I want to find more people like me that are like me, that like this. And I want to show other people that there are people like us out there. And that was really the catalyst for it all. And it's just continued to grow.
Absolutely.
So I would make videos for like a year before I started, and every video I'd make, I'd be like, I'm going to post it, and I just did not have the confidence to do it because I didn't know anyone who liked wrestling. I thought, I'm going to be the only girl or whatever. And then I started to see like you guys come up on my For You page, and I saw that, you know, people actually were interacting with these videos. So I thought, I'm just going to post one. And then I was like, I'm just going to keep on posting. And it just happened. Like, I have so many in my drafts because I just was like, I'm going to post it. And then I just did not have the confidence. But one day I just said, like, I'm going to do it. And it just sort of went from there.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes when you have a lot of ideas and then you kind of push them down, you can only push them down for so long before they come up, and you're actually like, you know what, you've got nothing to lose. Why don't you just put something out there and see what happens? And then, as you say, people respond and they react to it and they want more. And it's like, oh, actually, like, I genuinely had nothing to be worried about. I feel like we build up this fear and anxiety in our minds if people are going to like what we have to say or if they're going to like the videos we're putting out. But we tend to forget that we're allowed to occupy the space as well too. Like, we don't have to move the males over, we can just create the space for us and we can grow. Like, I just feel like we need to think of it as that way rather than being scared to say what we want to say or feel how we feel.
Yeah, of course. Definitely. So I started it was just before the year before lockdown, so I think it was like 2019. I started posting like gaming stuff. That was where my account started. I was posting gaming stuff like Fortnite and things like that I was doing. And then every now and again I'd post a video in regards to like a wrestling pay-per-view, because it was not long after I started watching. I would post something about a pay-per-view, or I'd post something about a certain wrestler, and I noticed that them videos were getting a lot more traction than any of my gaming stuff that I was posting. And I was like, maybe this is the move forward. Maybe I'll start posting wrestling stuff more than gaming stuff. So I started posting more wrestling stuff and noticed that it was doing considerably well in the algorithm compared to the gaming stuff. And then I started finding people like Lana and Courtney, Kevin. They were popping up on all these random wrestle talkers that I've never seen or never heard of, were popping up on my feed. And I was like, I need to follow these people and I need to get in on this and find people that watch wrestling because I need more friends. And that was literally how mine started. So yeah.
No, pretty much the same, man. Pretty much the same. I can't remember how I found you. I can't remember if you just popped up or if it was Kevin that had posted about you, but suddenly I was like, oh yeah, they just saw there was another woman occupying the space. And I'm like, yes,
literally.
Friend,
any women's wrestling content creator, I'm like, follow.
Please.
And then it just spiraled from there, and it was great. And I love it because not only has TikTok brought me a great group of friends that I haven't met, like Wheezy, Jazmin and Courtney, but I have a great group of friends that I have met and are now my friends in the likes of Courtney, Lana, not just women, but Reese as well, Steve, people that I've met through TikTok wrestling that I am now really happy to call my real life friends, because I'm not saying that you guys aren't my real life friends. I love you.
It's okay, I see how it is. It's fine.
People that I've met, and I'm spent like me, Lana and Courtney, we're all meeting up outside of a wrestling event to spend time together because we value our time and the stuff that we've done together. I'm getting really like emotional.
Yeah, no, it's fair though, because honestly, like, you put stuff out there and you never know how it's actually going to positively impact your life personally as well too. Like, you don't really think of it as much other than just putting out videos. But when you create these connections with people and you guys can talk about not only wrestling but music and your personal lives and friends and all of that stuff, this is what it's all about. It's not about who thinks that HBK is the better wrestler in this generation or whatever. It's actually more than that. It's about connecting on a personal level with people and finding people who have that same interest as you. Like, that's really rare and it's hard to find these days. So I'm so happy that you feel that way about
it changes your life.
TikTok. Yeah, absolutely.
It changes your life. I mean, I don't know if you can attest to being a wrestling fan in general, but I've always felt like being a wrestling fan and being interested in the things I'm interested in general, I've never been able to find people like myself. I've always kind of felt like a bit of an outsider, and when I started making content, I feel like it was the first time I was able to meet people that understood me or that I could connect with, even though I've never met some of them in person.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same. Like, it's so incredibly hard to find people where I'm from that like the same thing. So then when you come onto a platform and you see there's like a whole lot of us, like, as you say, you just don't feel alone anymore. And you can be yourself and you can say how you feel, and you know that people will understand because they're following the storylines and they're keeping up with the feuds and the potential alliances and everything. And you feel like your ideas aren't stupid anymore because you've had to suppress them for so long,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I remember the days of when I first started and I was turning around to Ross and I was going, oh my God, this creator's just followed me. Oh my God, this creator's just followed me. I literally did it with Wheezy. I was like, Ross, Wheezy's just followed me.
I did the same. I freaked out in our group chat. I was like, guys, Wheezy just followed me. I was like, what did I
do? You just happened to come on my For You page. That's all it takes. If I see you and I'm like, oh, follow.
I love that. That's so good.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see. Right, moving on to a little bit of a less happier subject, but I'm going to ask this question anyway. When you first started content creation, did you expect to get so much hate from the IWC, and how do you handle that hate/disliking that comes from the comments, etc., etc.?
So yes and no. yes, because I feel like because I had sat back and observed a lot of my favorite creators for a very long time, and I'd seen, you know, the likes of you and Wheezy talking about this before I decided to start making content. I kind of knew what to expect. Like I had the thought in my mind, you know, like you will potentially get these kind of comments too if you put your ideas out there, and you know people are very misogynistic, and you know women can't occupy this space, and women don't have good ideas, and you know I had a feeling that was going to happen, and saying no as well too, because I didn't actually realize to the extent. I think your brain can only really prepare you for so much before it's nothing like you imagined. And I'm not saying that I didn't expect to get hated, or I just didn't expect it to be as often and as personal sometimes as what it is, when I could just be posting a video about, you know, my favorite theme songs, and someone could tell me to, you know, do something with my life that I would, you know, make a permanent decision to no longer be here. So I feel like your brain doesn't really prepare you for that. So yes and no to the content, the hate comments, and yeah. What about you, Wheezy?
I did expect it. I did.
Mhm.
I felt like I had been in enough spaces on like wrestling Twitter and places that I knew what the community was like, and anytime that you share any kind of, you know, thing that you like or opinion, they tend to voice theirs. And I think people forget sometimes that the person that they are talking at is an actual person behind the camera, behind the screen. Sometimes they think that they're talking to someone that is never going to see what they say, but they do. I would say 80% of the time, if I reply to someone that has said something on one of my pages, they immediately respond that they didn't expect a response, and they kind of start to backpedal. Especially when you have as large of a following, they'll delete the comment because they know that, okay, well, now they're going to end up getting 10 times more of the attention than they initially thought that they were going to.
Yeah.
But I knew it was going to happen. I am fortunate enough that I feel like I'm in a headspace where I handle it really well. But that's the thing, is that not everyone should be expected to, and not everyone should have to. And the fact that people can just treat other people the way that they do is never okay, but it's just an unfortunate fact of the world that we live in.
What about you, Jazmin?
I didn't, honestly. I think I went in quite naive. I think I was sort of prepared for people to have different opinions, because you do in anything. I didn't expect, you know, people to be so serious about it and to be so mean. Like, you can have different opinions on whether you like a particular wrestler, and I've met people like that in real life, and I just didn't expect it to be near the level of how mean people are online. And when I did go live, I've been banned now, but when I did, people would come on and then, you know, tell you horrible things and then go, and then that's it, you know. And I didn't expect it at all, to be completely honest. Like, I didn't think a wrestler creator, someone who talks about wrestling, would get any hate, like especially not the level that I have had before. And you go on their account and it's like 0 followers, no profile picture. And at the end of the day, it's wrestling. Like, you're going to have a different opinion. It's like, if I ever say I like WWE over AEW, those comments are really bad. They're like, you should give it a chance. I like what I like. And yeah, honestly, did not expect to get any hate at all. I think I went in there quite naive. But now being on wrestling side of Twitter, I should have expected it, because that's a whole
Wrestling side of Twitter is so bad.
I'm like, Jesus.
It's so bad.
It's just a cesspool. Like, it's so bad.
You said something that really stands out to me, where you were like, you know, who would think that coming on and just talking about like your favorite wrestler or something like that people would hate on it? Because when you really think about it, it's silly. It's so silly that it gets taken that seriously.
We are literally talking about a scripted sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like these people are willing just to step in to like volunteer their entire lives to save this person. It's like, this person doesn't actually know anything about you. And I get that you want to like support, you know, your favorite wrestlers and stuff. But like Wheezy says, at the end of the day, it's just wrestling. that's what's so great about it, is we can all have different opinions, and it doesn't mean that one person's wrong and the other person doesn't feel that way, or but it's just because people, I think, in this day and age have gotten so used to the idea of someone's idea is not correct, or just fighting with people, that we can't all occupy this space and just live mutually. I feel like that's the missing thing.
And like going on with this more, like in the whole of the women's content creation, it is us women that seem to get it worse than any of the other people on Wrestle Talk. Like you could see someone that has even a low following male compared to a high following male, they could post something, I don't know, say they post something about a wrestler, and then one of us female creators could go and post the same or similar opinion, but we'll get loads of hate for it, but they'll be praised to the high heavens for it.
Yeah.
I have so much to say about it.
Jump into it, Wheezy. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
So we do get more of the hate, and a lot of the time they won't even say it. They won't even say it specifically that it's because you're a woman, but they're more apt to put in the actually interjection. Well, they'll be like, well, you'll say something about something that you observed like on SummerSlam, and they'll interject and be like, actually, this is happening for this reason, and actually he's doing this because of this reason. And it's like, well, that's not how I perceive it. So don't sit there in my comment section and tell me what I should be seeing or what I should be perceiving. Like you're trying to mansplain something to me because like I get enough of that. And I also think, to be fair, not everyone does it, but I think a lot of men that occupy the space allow it to perpetuate, and they allow it to happen.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest issue that I have with it, is just because they allow it to happen. They don't stand up for us. And I experience it. The more that I'm growing, and the more that I deal with other content creators, they don't care. They'll use they'll use you for the fact of, oh, maybe if I have a woman on my podcast, maybe if I have a woman, join this, that'll bring more eyes to my product because there's a woman here.
Yeah.
But then when the hate comes, they're not willing to defend you. They're not willing to defend you at all. I've dealt with it so many times, and it honestly really, really upsets me because I see it happening to everybody else too. And I feel like I don't know what to do in order to, I don't think it can be fixed. It can't be fixed, but I want to help people learn how to deal with it better.
Yeah, of course. Because everybody deals with it differently. I'm quite a blunt person. If you know me in real life, I will tell you your shit to your face. I am very, very like that. Literally, I could get up and tell Russ, oh, your hair looks awful today or something. But I am very blunt. I would literally tell you your shit to your face.
Yeah.
And I forgot where I was going with my conversation.
You're very blunt with what you're saying, so like you feel a different way about the comments. Is that kind of
when it comes to hate comments, I can literally push them aside and ignore them. But some people that are a bit like more emotional, they could see that hate comment and be like, oh shit, should I be doing this? Am I doing something? Everybody takes that hate comment differently. So one person like me could literally ignore it and be whatever. The other person could completely stop content creation because that one hate comment has ruined their entire day.
And the thing is, I feel like some people who leave hate comments sometimes don't understand how much courage someone might have had build up to actually make these videos, and then your one comment is enough to stop them completely because they feel like they're doing something wrong, when in actual fact it's just because user 7986111 doesn't like your opinion. You know what I mean? Like you sometimes just forget that like Wheezy said earlier, there is actually a person with true thoughts, emotions, and feelings behind the screen. And it's not just about the video, it's actually about them.
No, we might not like interact with the comment, like it, reply to it, but we're going to see it. Mm-hmm. We know what you think. We've seen it. And we could be thinking about that for days.
Mm. I think they say, like, it takes 3 positive comments to outweigh 1 negative. That's what that's I think science has said, that it takes three positive comments, affirmations to actually cancel out a negative. So if someone's just seeing negative and they're not seeing anything positive, mentally they are going to be stuck with the negative. Whereas if you're seeing more positive, then you're going to feel more positive about what you're doing and your growth and your personal space in here, and where you feel like you can go with it. But I just feel like the hate comments, sometimes I feel like they are just very unnecessary. And there are times where I want to turn my comments off because I'm like, actually, I want to give myself a break from these. But then that takes away, as the relatability side of me, and also takes away the ability for people to connect with me and ask me questions and interact, because at the end of the day, that's what I want. And I want people to feel like they can ask me, what did you think of SummerSlam, or who do you think is going to be wrestling at Payback? And if you take away that because of a couple of people's comments, well, then I feel like it doesn't help your followers, because they don't understand the reason as to why you've had to turn the comments off unless you're willing to go into that, if that makes any sense.
No,
Yeah,
it does. It definitely does. And I just I had a thought and I completely lost it. Oh, I remember now. I am dealing with a pretty large content creator at the moment who's kind of mentoring me, like, as my growth happens. And he said something along the lines of, like, never read the comments, never read the comments. And I personally feel like I understand that, but in the way that I've built my platform, I feel like I've created connections and relationships in replying to the comments and seeing what people say. And I can ignore a lot of the ones that do happen that are negative. They're never going to go away. You do have to learn. You do have to learn to find a place where you can accept it and move on from them. Should they happen? No, but they're going to. Another problem that ends up happening is just the misinformation that's happened and the things that are said. And I do feel like as women, we get targeted more for that, and we get targeted more in a way that's either based on our intelligence or our looks as well. A lot of the time they tend to immediately go to depending on who the person is, and that doesn't happen with male content creators. An example I wanted to give was I recently started making content with the Straight Shoot podcast. Okay, we didn't do a whole lot, but I got introduced and then nothing happened. And then one of our members ended up growing exponentially. Like, he blew up really, really quickly, got bigger than the podcast. What ended up happening was when that podcast didn't post for months at a time, it only took 3 people to go in all of those comment sections and basically say that, oh, the reason that this podcast isn't posting anymore, or the reason that this podcast isn't working, is because Wheezy came in and she didn't like the other guy and she kicked him out, and that's why none of
That's so silly.
To think that you have that power is just, it's insane.
I kicked Santi out of Straight Shoot. That's what happened. I'm like,
Wheezy, how dare you?
I know. I didn't
Guys,
know
we need to turn the live off, because like 4 other people are going to say it and it's going to spread everywhere, and it's just, I don't know.
I didn't know
with the comments.
I had that much power. I didn't know I had
I
that
didn't
much
realise
power.
Wheezy was such drama. Get rid of her now.
I know, it's awful. I was like, okay, I need to be done. But no, the dude went into every single video on their TikTok and said it and replied to other people's comments and tried to spread this narrative that that's what happened. And literally, I posted a video with him. Was this just
some random guy, or was it somebody?
Some random dude. His username, I'm assuming it's a he. I shouldn't do that. But whoever this person is, their name is like GameStop customer service. 0 followers.
As if a business customer service would really go to the lengths to find that out.
Like, why are you so obsessed with me, and why do you care that much? Why do you care that much about these people that you've never met, that you would try to like run this narrative about people that you don't know? It's the
parasocial relationship kicking in. I feel like sometimes people take that on too much, and they don't realize how consumed they get with watching somebody on a daily basis. And I totally understand that, some people can feel like, this person really inspired me in personal life and stuff. But you also have to remember there is that separation. We are behind a screen. We don't actually know you personally. You just know us from what you see. And that must have just been their perception of, well, this person's no longer a part of the podcast because this person's come in, and it must have caused rifts and stuff. But maybe that's their own personal conflicts also reflecting as well too. Maybe the way they feel and what they said actually says more about them than it does about you. I didn't realize that you had that much power.
Neither did I. But it can be so damaging. It's that easy because it can be damaging to someone's reputation, because people don't look into things they don't know. It's not like we give people every detail of our lives. So someone could read that and just be like, oh, that's what happened. Wow, Wheezy sucks. She's a terrible person. And I didn't do nothing.
You've literally done nothing wrong.
I didn't do anything. It existed.
I mean, you said something, Wheezy, that they come for like your appearance, or they come for something about you. You could say something so simple, like, I don't know, you're annoyed that someone won, and they come for you so personally, and you're like, whoa. I just said something. Why are you coming for like my appearance or, you know, the way I dress or whatever it might be?
Yeah. It's like if you're trying to insult me on something better than my appearance, because I do know how I look.
Yeah. The worst one that gets me in the comments is, you only like this wrestler because they're hot.
Yeah.
I hate that comment.
And so what if I do?
It really, really winds me up.
It just adds to it. I don't just like them because they're good looking. It just adds to it, you know?
Yeah.
It is nice. And they can't act like, and that's the thing, is that you can't say that to someone when also you'll be like, oh man, Liv Morgan, did you guys see Liv Morgan the other day? Like, you do it. You do that. Like, why is that different? Why is that different? Why is that different?
Yeah, posting their pictures of their bums on like Twitter, and I'm like, oh, I do not need to see that. I'm like, just
when Becky Lynch returned and had like the red singlet on with like the fishnets, and they posted pictures of her butt literally all over Twitter, and we're posting all about that. It's like, okay, that's okay, but
I only think that wrestler's gonna win because he's hot. So
yeah. Of course.
Yeah. It just blows my mind.
Right. Anyway, moving on. One more question on the content creation side is, any advice you would give? Say there's a bunch of females watching this like stream right now, and they want to start content creation, but they don't know how to. They're scared. They don't know what to do. What advice would you give them to push them and motivate them to start content creation?
I say just do it. Just trust yourself, back yourself enough to do it, because at one point we were all feeling the same way. We were all insecure if we didn't feel as though we wanted to do it, or we didn't feel like we could occupy the space, or that our thoughts and our feelings, people weren't going to relate to them, or people didn't like our ideas. But, you know, as I said earlier, it just took one video for me to put up there, and then I realized that actually I do deserve a space here, and I do deserve the opportunity to feel like I can say what I want to say. So honestly, I say just go for it. You've got nothing to lose. You genuinely have nothing to lose and everything to gain from this. The Women's Wrestle Talk community has been nothing but positive and supportive of me since I started, like 6 months ago. And it's just crazy that if we can all band together and actually show, you know, women that want to make content like this, that actually you are welcome here, and you'll be treated with nothing but love and respect and kindness. And I just feel like we need to put that out there more, because that will encourage more people to come in and make the content. So I say just give it a go. Mm-hmm. What about you, Wheezy?
I would first start with, like you said, just do it. But I think it's helpful to kind of know where you want to go with it. Like if you have a goal in mind of what exactly it is you're trying to get out of it, you know, when it comes to content creation. Are you looking to just connect with like-minded people? Are you wanting to take it on as a second job? Do you want to make it a career? You know, do you want it to springboard an interviewing career or something like that? Kind of have a goal in mind as far as what your end goal is, because that can help you find what kind of content you need to be creating, and the kind of people you need to be associating with, and the kind of people you need to be avoiding. Because I will say that when I first started, I interacted with a lot of people that I don't now. And that's okay. Like, you don't have to interact with everybody. If there is someone out there that the vibe rubs you the wrong way, or they say something to you that makes you feel uncomfortable, you don't have to associate with them. It's really easy to hit the block button and just let it go and let it be. Another thing would be to I think you should find a space where you are confident and comfortable with yourself and in what you're doing. Because if you put yourself out there on the internet and you allow strangers and comments to dictate how you feel about yourself and the way that you live your life, maybe it's not for you. You really, really need to take that into consideration, because your mental health is so much more important than putting content out. Like, make sure that you are in a mental headspace that you can handle something like this, because it is going to happen. And if nothing else, it makes you stronger, because once you do it and you realize that you can take on the things that people are going to throw at you, or the challenges that you're going to face, you can just, like, the sky's the limit. You can just keep, like, nothing can touch you then. Like, if you can handle some idiot out in Oklahoma that thinks you have a big nose, you can handle literally anything. Like, I can't say enough about that. So just do it, but make sure you're in the right headspace to do it, and be careful who you trust and who you associate with. And one more point is just that the women on wrestling TikTok content creation have been the most supportive. They are, for the most part, the most trustworthy. I've never had any woman on the space say anything bad about me or make me feel like crap. It's always somebody else.
Them who shall not be named. How you feel,
yeah,
Jazmin?
like you said, just do it. Like, just do it. I think if you're a bit nervous of who's going to see it, like, forget that. Just do what you want to do. But also in a way, you've got to expect what will come with it, even though that's really sad. But it's the sad part about putting content is maybe have a bit of a thicker skin, you know, and to be able to be like, okay, well, this person doesn't like me. But, you know, if you have the confidence, if you want to do it, just do it, because you're going to find someone that enjoys your content, and just eventually you're just going to go and grow, and you will eventually get a following, and you will, you know, grow a good community on your account. So if you're thinking about it, you've just got to do it. And if it doesn't work out, delete the account and move on. You know, it's not like you start and you can't stop. If you want to start it and it doesn't turn out to be something that you like or you're enjoying, or it's just not what you thought, move on, delete the videos, delete the account, and you tried it and it just didn't work out. So, you know, go in, do it, and who knows what could happen.
And I think one thing to take away from that as well too is even women content creators who have been on this app for a long time, I think also just reminding ourselves that it is okay to take a break if we feel like we need to step back and mentally recheck ourselves, because sometimes I think we get into the mindset that we need to be putting out 4 videos a day every single day and doing this and doing this and doing this. We're like, life does come up and sometimes you don't have time for these things. And at the end of the day, it is just an app. And if you have to step away to, you know, reset your mind or, you know, reprioritize your life, it is okay to do that. And as you say, the women's space here have been nothing but supportive of males and females who have had to take mental health breaks just, you know, to check in and see how they're feeling. So I think also just keeping in mind your mental health and making sure that you don't run yourself into the ground and you don't create a situation where you're going to give yourself burnout, because that'll make you really not like what you're doing. And it's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about just having fun. It's all about having fun. That's what we're here for. My mum would always tell me in life, she says, just do your best and have fun. And that's really all it is we're just trying to get by. So
I think another thing is don't watch your followers. Like, don't care about how many followers. I'm so guilty of that. Like, I'll notice someone's unfollowed me and I'm like, oh, why have they unfollowed me? But at the end of the day, having like a good, you know, section of fans, you know, is more. Having interactive fans that will like and comment and enjoy your content is so much more than just having loads that just don't care and don't give you the interaction. So I'm definitely guilty of that, of watching the followers and, you know, trying to do videos that will blow up, and it's the videos you least expect it. For me personally, that will end up doing the views. Like, you know, you try and do a video that will get views and it gets like not any more than average, but a video that you just post randomly will do numbers, I swear.
Yeah, I think just not thinking about the content too much. Sometimes you just have to, like, you just put something out there and just see what happens. And at the same time, doing that as well too really gives you the opportunity to kind of see what your followers enjoy from you and what they want to see less of, so that you can kind of cater your working she's like, bye-bye, cater your content style around that. And then also you can take in what people have, like, say for example, someone says in the comments, like, what did you think about the finish of this match? You can then talk about it and you can build on that as well too. You don't feel like you have to fit in one specific section of a space. You are allowed to talk about more than just one thing. If you want to talk about fantasy booking, you can. If you want to talk about underutilized talent, which we'll get into at some point in this podcast, there is space to talk about anything. But I do think picking up on, you know, what does well and what people want to see will actually help your stuff get out to more people as well, because if they're enjoying it, it's going to get pushed through the algorithm more. So I think definitely what you say, Jazmin, about not over analyzing your content too much is definitely something that you want to make sure that you're focusing less on as well too.
And sometimes just hit play. Don't have like a script in your head. Hit play and what comes out will be the right thing.
Yeah, and also just being like your genuine self as well too. I feel like people in this day connect with people that are genuine and that they can see themselves in, and that, you know, we don't all have good days. And I think understanding that you don't have to try and be your most perfect self on camera. If you come in with a messy bun and you've got a t-shirt that's got a stain on it, cool, I resonate to that because I've probably spilled something on my shirt and, you know, want to just throw my hair up in a bun too. So we're not all perfect.
The right audience is the one that resonates with that, like being more genuine and speaking to your audience like people. When the more polished that people get, and sometimes the more that people grow, it's when it gets detached. A lot of the time, if you go to someone that has like a million something following or something like that, their comment sections are literally the absolute worst. It's like the cesspool of where people kind of congregate and gather because they feel so detached from the person that they're watching. I think if people feel like they can connect with you a little more, that's less apt to happen.
Absolutely. Do you have any thoughts, Gee?
Are we still talking about advice and stuff for women wrestling?
Yep.
Yes.
So my advice would just be go for it. Post that video. It's basically what you guys have already all said. Post that video. Post a few videos. If it doesn't work, delete it. You know, you gave it a try. You know it's not for you. Don't watch your following count. Don't watch your comments to begin with. And if you do get the hate comments, just rise above it because you are better than them.
Exactly.
So, that is all I have in regards to content creation. So Courtney, if you want to take over and we'll have a quick chat about women's wrestling before we finish up.
Would love to. So I'm going to start off with a very dicey question. And obviously we're all going to have a lot of thoughts on this. So how do we all feel about the current state of the women's division in both AEW and WWE? So I think we'll change the way we go about this. So we'll go from Gee to Wheezy Jazmin, and then I'll finish up. And then we can just go in that order. So Gee, how do you feel about the current state of the women's division in both big companies? We can talk about Impact and New Japan and stuff, but I think we'll solely focus on WWE and AEW as those are, you know, seen as the two big companies. So how do you feel?
Where do I even start? Oh my God, there is so much going on. Like,
I'm interested to know what you think, really.
I can't even tell you a solid thing that is going on in either company's women division right now because they are so upside down and like messed up that we've had a women's champion that hasn't had a pay-per-view or real defense really in Rhea Ripley. What is she doing with that title other than following Dom around with his title? Like, she is doing nothing. She hasn't had a solid feud with that belt yet since she won it. And then we've got Io Sky, who's just cashed in. Okay, that's fairly new. I didn't like how that happened, but whatever WWE's creative are on right now, I need to know because they need to come off it. The tag belts, every time then tag belts go to someone gets injured. They go to someone else, they get injured. Are those tag belts cursed or something? Because
yes.
they can't be on someone without someone getting injured. And the tag division in WWE is so dreadful right now. Like they don't have a solid, long-lasting tag team division at all. I'm not going to comment so much on AEW because I haven't been watching it recently, but I know there is a lot of things going on over there with the whole Twitter stuff that was going around recently. But I don't know too much about it, but I just don't think either company's women's division is in a good place right now.
That's fair. Wheezy, how do you feel?
I never really know how to feel because then sometimes I feel like they are doing a good job and people are invested, and then something happens like the last probably 5-6 months, and everything that G said with Rhea Ripley and holding her title for as long as she has, this never-ending story of Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus that was scrapped from SummerSlam for some reason,
and instead, yes.
You know, we had all of that happen. So as far as specifics go, I feel like people are just not invested in what's happening in any of the women's divisions besides Impact. And a big reason that I attribute that to, or that I like to speculate about, is we need to stop allowing both companies, any company, to have a boardroom or a creative team full of men that are telling women how to be creative or what to do, or having girls that are just starting up from NXT debut, give them one shot to get over with the crowd, and it doesn't work, and then pull them off TV. And none of it makes any sense. That they can build longer stories with people that they care about, like Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, and you know that they're capable of doing it. But when it comes to women, they're not willing to have them be in it for the long haul. And if they are, they can't make it interesting. Look at Bianca Belair. They left the title on her for as long as they did, but for some reason they couldn't pull the trigger on giving her something else to do, whether it be a heel turn, whether introducing someone different into her story to possibly make it interesting and see what happens. No, instead we got the same people. We got Charlotte Flair, who I love, don't get me wrong, but they're not giving any of the newer talent.
No.
Yeah, they're not giving any of the newer talent any chance to even try. I can't speak on AEW too much. I feel like right now maybe they're trying because they're introducing. They had her lose to, what was it, Rhea last week? Indy Hartwell. Okay.
Yeah.
But still not building a feud. They're just having Rhea go up against random people. So I'm hoping that I always have hope. I don't like to be super negative, but I hope that it'll turn around. But I really think Impact is a testament to bringing someone that has experience, that is a woman, that was a wrestler, helping with creative, because the Impact division actually is doing really, really well, and people are very invested in it. And I think they should follow suit in WWE and AEW. They're out there. There's AJ Lee's in the world. They've dropped the ball on Mickie James. There's Lita's in the world. Trish Stratus could help. There's so many. Victoria. There's women out there that can help, and it's not happening.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Jazmin, how do you feel?
I think it's obviously 100% been better before. With whoever's holding the championships, you've got to make a main character on that particular show. SmackDown and Raw. No, we don't really have a Raw and SmackDown, but we do have champions, but we do have the women's drafted. You've got to make them a main character in multiple storylines and having multiple matches. Otherwise, what's the point of them being a champion? Like, it could honestly, like Rhea's belt, I love Rhea, but it could be on someone else that is going to have the matches. She's so involved in the Judgment Day storyline that her title reign is being wasted on Dominic and all of that. And I just think, we had 2 matches at SummerSlam. One of the biggest stars in WWE at the moment, Becky Lynch, wasn't even on there. Do you know what I mean? Because it was pushed back due to a men's match, or potentially Trish's nose, but I think it was to do with the Slim Jim match. And I just think they're putting it on you're dragging it out. You've got to get some new, interesting faces, and you've also got to put the girls that are the girls that really do well with the crowd. Like, let's have a Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch match. I think that would be a brilliant match to have, to the biggest names. I just think they're a bit at a loss. They don't know what to do, and they're giving us crap content every single week for the women, and it's not going far. It's not doing good. And I think they just need to sort of start fresh, sort the tag team champions out. Start actually putting this is my thing. I will never get over how random how they tag team the women. It's the most random thing ever. And then 2 seconds later, they're getting turned. Like, set a good foundation up with the women's, because we've got a good foundation with the men's. Set a good foundation up with the women's. Have some matches, and let's just bring some more power and energy into Raw and SmackDown. I can't speak for any other company because I don't watch it at the moment, but definitely for WWE, it's, no offense, it's boring. Like, I can't lie, I'm not looking forward to it every week, because I'm like, if it's going to be like how it has been since Raw 30, I think that was the start of it, when they didn't show anything from the Women's Evolution, and I think they lost two of the biggest stars, Sasha Banks, Naomi, and they've sort of dropped the ball from there, and I just think they need to pick it up, find some new storylines, put some new things in place, and we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, I get that. I feel as though the care towards the women's division and the way that the women's division is presented and shown on TV very much goes in ebbs and flows. I feel as though there are times where fans are more invested because the company is putting more time and they're putting more energy into the women, and we will feel inspired by something if you're putting the time into it. But if you're not putting the time and energy, the care in the success of the athletes, the success of the storyline, the success of the show, if you are not able to do that, it is going to show in your product. And if you're giving me a very lackluster feud and you're saying, here it is, what do you want me to make? What do you want me to feel about it? How do you want me to feel? Because if you're giving me minimal energy, I'm going to give you a minimal reaction because you're not keeping me interested. You're not keeping me excited. And I definitely, go back to what Jazmin was saying, and I feel the exact same way. You need to build a solid foundation before you can start building on it. It's like a house. You have to have a strong foundation before you can start putting anything on top of it, because if your foundation's not strong, you are going to crumble. There's not going to be anything to show from it. And I just feel as though, I don't know if it's creative wise or if it's just the wrestlers not enjoying themselves at the moment, but I just feel as though the 2023 women's division is just not, in WWE specifically, is just not it. You have stars like Chelsea Green has come in, and she has been one of Triple H's best rehires since he's come back, because she's come in from Impact with this new personality and this new persona, and she's ready and rearing to go. You've got people, you've still got, 3 out of 4 of the horsewomen. So you've got Becky, Sasha, Bayley. You've got upcoming talent from NXT like Dakota and Io. You've got all of these people to build things around. You've got Rhea as well. And it's just, I feel as though they just don't know where to start, and I feel as though they don't know where their end goal is. They're kind of just booking how they feel every week and not really thinking about where things are going to go long term. And as I think it was Gee that said, they put so much time into like the bloodline, and they're doing the same with the Judgment Day storyline now, that you sometimes just feel as though you want that same amount of care and effort put into the individual women's storylines as well too, because we deserve to have a good storyline on TV as well, especially with everything that's going on with the writers' strikes right now. More people are tuning into wrestling, and you've got to keep them interested to keep them around. It is a weekly show, and you've got to do more than you did the week before to keep them interested, to keep them coming around. You know what I mean? It's just, and I can't speak for AEW very much because I kind of haven't watched it in a very long time because of how I've been seeing the women being treated, and the stuff that comes out online in terms of the drama that's been going on is just not really something I want to interact with, associate with. I don't watch wrestling for the drama. I watch it for the actual sport and the athleticism behind it. I just feel like both companies have a lot of work to do, and they just don't know where to start, basically, is how I feel. So another question we can move on to. Did you give your thoughts, Gee? I couldn't remember if you had.
Yeah, I did. I went first.
Okay,
but there was one other thing that I wanted to add in.
Go for it.
With WWE in the past year and a bit or so, it feels like, unless it's about the bloodline or Roman Reigns, nobody gives a shit about anything else. Literally, if it's not Roman, if it's not the bloodline, nobody cares about anything else that's going on.
Yeah. I think just going back to that point, the Becky Trish stuff, that should have finished at SummerSlam. Wheezy, I actually saw your response and your reaction to what happened in the match before I watched the match. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I really hope I don't feel the same. And sure enough, I did.
I don't usually react that way to things, but I just that's what came out of me. I'm like, okay.
With that specifically, I just feel like it should have ended at SummerSlam. That was its natural ending, I think. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it's being drawn out for this much longer is just, I don't care anymore. And I think, Sorry.
Apparently it might have been done to Trisha's nose. I don't know. And things like that, things happen. We're wrestling. Well, I'm not, but they are. So let's do it and let's end it now, because it's getting boring. Some storylines, like the Bloodline, are being brilliantly strung along, 3 years pretty much. But this storyline is it's getting boring, and it's just like ends at Payback, and let's start a new rivalry for this and sort of leave it now.
I think WWE Creative have a really good way of teasing stuff that could happen in the future, but they don't think about the here and now. So an example of this is they have teased Becky and Rhea many times. That is something that I will look forward to seeing when it happens. My only concern is the way that the women's division is being booked and treated right now. Does that mean that that same feud could have the same treatment? And I could be just overthinking things, but I think when you're being teased about things that could happen in the future, what you're seeing now really impacts your hopefulness for what could happen. If you're not seeing change happen, or, something different than what you're seeing now, it makes it really hard for you to be optimistic about the future. And I just feel like women's wrestling is where it's at. We do have a lot of talent. Some of the women's wrestlers we've got at the moment are better than the men's. Like, Bianca Belair is an absolute testament to this. She is insanely powerful, insanely strong, and I feel like she can wrestle sometimes better than the men. I enjoy her matches more sometimes, and I just feel like they need to really start putting their money and their stock levels back into the women, because you can't expect people to bring in women and bring in more of an audience if you're not allowing them opportunity. I think that's just really what's lacking in the division. So going off of that, what do you think these companies can do to not only show that they care about women's wrestling, but want to improve the division in the future? So if we're thinking about how it is right now, what do you think that these companies can start implementing or start doing differently to change what we're seeing on TV and to change where women's wrestling goes in the future? So we'll start with you, G.
So I think they could put not an equal amount of time, but more time into the way that the women are perceived, their matches, the way they're perceived. So like the men, obviously, because the men's division is a lot bigger than the women's, we know that. But obviously they get a lot of time in the ring, they get a lot of time for promos, they get a lot of time for like creative and things. So if we put more time into the women's and thinking about what the women are doing, and maybe even give the women some chance to voice their opinions on what they think they could do as a good storyline. I think that would help a lot. Having some female people in creative to help with those female, because I feel like a female would see what a female would want more. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So having somebody in female creative to help out with the female storylines, I think would help. And the other thing with WWE, I feel like they just need to scrap them tag titles and bring us like a women's mid card or something along them lines, because women's single helps. The women's single division is more managed better than the tag team division, and I feel like they need to just get rid of that altogether.
Wheezy, how do you feel?
A couple things. We talked about it, and you touched base on having more women involved in creative. One, I think that would help. I don't work backstage, so I can't attest to what they are and what they aren't doing per se. But as far as what I can see on TV and what they're showing me, investing into long-term storytelling, but multi-layered, that is keeping things fresh, not throwing Becky and Trish and Zoe at each other in the same thing every week for 3 months. Actually introducing new people into the story, introducing different facets to the story, make it interesting, because they can do it, they're just not doing it. Those would be the biggest things that I observe or that I can see. They just need to make people care, because right now they are treating the fans, this is the fans, not the company, but the fans are treating the women's matches like a bathroom break.
Yeah.
They all left at SummerSlam. I was there. They all left for both of them, and they do it on TV. You can see as well, and the crowd is the most quiet for them. So it has to come from both sides. The crowd needs to make it known that they care, and the company needs to show that they care.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Jazmin, how do you feel?
I feel like a fan needs to go in there and sort out creative and tell them what we want, because they obviously can't think. It's ridiculous. There's 1 million and one things they can do, but I think the big things is like G said, equal time. Like at the end of the day, I don't think it will ever be equal, because there are more men than women. That's it's just something that there is at the moment. And whether that will change in the future, who knows? But for right now, it is what it is. But we need more. We need more fire promos. We need more big matches, more main eventing of just like the Raw and SmackDowns. Because every SmackDown, it seems to be, I'm biased, but it seems to be Roman, and I want to see matches on SmackDown. But with, Raw, let's have some matches. And I think they need to really have a look at who they want to be the face of the women's division and who they want to have sort of mid cards. And go from there. I just think there's loads of things they can do, but the big thing is just to sort of take a step back, have a look at it, and actually see who they want in storylines, who they want to be, plastered everywhere. Because the women's matches, like I can't remember who said it, is being used as a toilet break. It's just a bit plain at the moment. There's no big moves in the matches, which also us fans want to see.
Yeah.
And to just go off you a little bit as well with the whole women's main eventing thing, we had SummerSlam, which was a triple main event, and all 3 main events were male matches. Whereas they could have not give us that battle royale and put Becky and Trish on the card and put it as a main event, and we could have had 2 males and 1 female main event. But when you've got a triple main event that's all male matches, it just makes it feel a bit lackluster of what they're doing with their women's division.
Yeah, I think as Wheezy said, it does go both ways. I feel like if you're not giving me your best efforts and this is 100% what you're happy with and you're hoping that I like it, I potentially won't react the way that you want and give you the feedback that you need. I think WWE need to start booking the division better. I don't know how they do it because I'm not paid by WWE. I'd love to help out in some way, but until I see those checks come into my bank account, I won't give you any advice. And I think the fans need to start caring more because we can't care about something if the people who can give it to us aren't caring. We've got to meet each other halfway. And I feel like with the fans especially, I feel like the interest in women's wrestling has really died off. And that might not be 100% the fans' fault because there are fans out there like us that do love women's wrestling and want to see us succeed. But I just feel like WWE's mentality in the last couple of years has really shifted. They care more about Roman and the bloodline and all of this stuff, but don't actually realize that a lot of the audience comes in to watch the women's wrestling. So I think it's about finding an equal balance of, giving more time to the women and giving better long-term storylines that actually mean something and have stipulations on the line that have further consequences if something happens, giving us more chances and actually also just trusting the women as well. If you give us an inch, we'll take a mile. If you tell us to do something, we will give you a much better result than what you were initially hoping for. So I just feel like they need to start trusting the women more. Let them cut the promos more. Let them have a little bit more in terms of being able to figure out their creative and how they want to be perceived instead of saying, this is your name, this is your character, this is what you're going to dress as, because that's inauthentic to the person. And I just feel like, obviously, this was a question that I was going to ask, but I feel like we've been touching on it enough to not need to bring it up as a question in itself. But having more women in charge of creative writing a storyline for women, because I feel, and I said this to Gee earlier, I feel like there's a massive difference between women writing stories for women from the female experience and a male writing a story for a woman from their perception of the experience. It can get translated in 2 different ways on TV, and I don't really want to see a 45-year-old man tell me what it's like to be a woman when we've got someone in that same boardroom who could give us a much different, much richer, much deeper experience and actually be able to portray that on TV. So I feel like they've got a lot of work to do as creative and as the company, and we've got a lot of work to do as fans to be able to get that interest back and actually start enjoying women's wrestling again, because I think back to 2018, 2019, and I feel like that was probably the high point for women's wrestling, People were loving it back then, and I know a lot of people attest to Ronda Rousey being a part of that. She did play a part initially. I miss those days, and I really wish that, the women could just get treated better, because I don't know where they kind of feel like we've fallen off if we're not giving them enough money or if we're not contributing enough to sales or anything, but you just have to give us a chance. You just got to give us a chance, is how I honestly feel. I feel like the last thing we could really finish off with question-wise is who are some underused and underutilized talent in WWE or AEW that you want to see get pushed more and that you can see a bright future for? So we'll start with you, G. Who do you think?
I'm going to go straight in with someone that has just come up to the main roster because I am absolutely disgusted with how she's been treated so far, and that is Indy Hartwell.
Yes.
She was NXT's women's champion, brought up to the main roster, and then she's been jobbed by Rhea. What the hell is that? Not to mention they cut an ad break during her first match on her entrance on her first match on the main roster.
She was picture in picture during a commercial break. That was her re-debut after injury. Was picture in picture during a commercial break.
How can you treat your former NXT champion like that?
Yeah. Can I also say as well with the picture-in-picture thing, so obviously the United States of America get picture-in-picture in their commercials. My side of the world doesn't. So when I was watching Monday Night Raw, I didn't even see her get an entrance.
No.
And then she came out of nowhere, and that's why I was so angry in my video that I stitched of yours, because I was like, I didn't even know that she was there because I don't have picture-in-picture. If I didn't see your video, I wouldn't have known. Yeah.
No.
Do you have any other superstars, G, that you want to see get
Not
pushed
that I
as
can
well
think
too?
off the top of my head.
Yeah. What about you, Easy?
I agree with everything about Indy. I will tag on Candice LeRae. Candice LeRae is such a pioneer in the wrestling industry in general. She was a queen on the Indies. She is phenomenal in everything that she does. I don't know why she hasn't been pushed to the moon on the main roster, but people like that, they absolutely should be utilizing, and they don't. I am hoping good things for Io Sky. I just want long-term feuds for championships, and I feel like some of the newer girls could really benefit from that, even if they don't come out on top. Just like build a story with one of the champions and make people care.
Yeah, 100%. Jazmin, what do you think? Who is some talent that you want to see pushed more?
Not anyone. Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell are sort of the only two that I can necessarily think of right now. There's some women that are on the main roster that I think deserve to be pushed and to have storylines and things like that. But when it comes to underutilized, is Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae is all I can think of. But I think a lot of them deserve a push.
Yeah. G, what were you going to say?
I think Asuka is underutilized and underused as well, because since she won that bout, even though she was in that storyline with like Bianca and Charlotte, she wasn't the main focus of that storyline. It was Bianca and Charlotte. So that to me is disrespecting your champion, completely disrespecting your champion. So I feel like she was definitely underutilized and undervalued in that entire feud.
I feel like what they could have done with that feud for SummerSlam is kept Asuka out of it. But when I say keep her out of it, keep her out of the match side of things. She can still be a part of the story, and that match could have actually been used to, because, Bianca and Charlotte were complaining about who was next in line for Asuka. Okay, have a match on a premium live event, and whoever wins that can then go up against Asuka in the next premium live event, because we don't need triple threat matches all the time with the champion, and then we end up having the champion lose. I feel like there could have been a different way to book that. And obviously, Charlotte and Bianca in itself is a marquee match that I think they also want to save for WrestleMania. So I feel like they could have teased that and then revisited that storyline back in WrestleMania season. And that would have culminated in long-term storytelling like we're asking for. Fans like us would have remembered, they teased that at SummerSlam. They're now doing it at Mania. The storyline's kind of circling in. But going back to underutilized talent, I know that we see her on the main roster and she is getting a little bit of spotlight, but Dakota Kai, I don't know if you've seen much of her work in NXT and on the independent circuit in Australia. She's phenomenal. She has a lot of talent under her belt, and I feel like WWE sometimes tend to forget how much talent the women had outside of WWE, and they only let people be on TV and have storylines from the work that they've done in WWE and completely disregard that someone could have 10 years on the independent scene, but don't get that time put into them when they come to the big leagues like WWE. Obviously, Indy and Candice, as everyone said, they have a lot of talent, and I feel like they really are, they should be seen as the future of the women's division. And the same with Io Sky as well, too. I'm so happy that they pulled the trigger on her and they're going to let her start to, get some more wins under her belt and actually prove herself as a character on TV. That damage control storyline, I honestly think, out of all of the women's storylines, is probably our only example of long-term storytelling that is actually going to be told. And we deserve more than just one storyline on TV, I think. As I said before, I just think they've just got a long way to go. And I'm really hoping that they want to put the work in, because if they don't, I will start to feel like they will have the same situations that they were having back when the hashtag Give Divas a Chance movement was happening. And we want to be going forwards, not backwards. Also, G, your camera's still, your microphone's still.
Sorry, I just had to take a really important phone call.
It's fine.
Do you feel like there has been a huge, and it doesn't make a lot of sense because I feel like when Triple H was in charge of NXT, the women's division there was always very strong, and a lot of those women moved up to the main roster and ended up becoming stars, i.e. Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha Banks, those girls. I noticed a huge shift once Stephanie McMahon wasn't involved in the company anymore.
Yeah.
Don't know if that is just by not having her involved at all, not having her backstage. I know she wasn't part of creative, but I do think she was somewhat of a mentor and somewhat of a push for a lot of that and a lot of the change that happened. And now that she's gone, I don't know that there's anyone fighting for them.
No, and that's really sad because, as I say, when you give us a chance, we can not only meet your expectations, but exceed your expectations as well. And it's just, I think they've got a long way to go. They need to sit back and think what they care about and what they want to put out there for us fans to see. And I do think they maybe need to just do a hard reset in the division and change a few things, whether that's implementing a mid-card title or if that's getting rid of the tag teams. I just think they just need to do what works for them instead of trying to do so much and not being able to fulfill the singles titles and the smaller things like that. But there's all the questions. Sorry, Jazmin, you were saying? No,
I think not having a female input is definitely making a difference, and not having sort of someone side. I'm not saying Triple H doesn't side, 'cause he has a lot of respect for women, professional women in the WWE, but there's no female input and there's no sort of female looking at it. And I think you would, if a female was to come in, it's definitely did ever come back, I think you will most likely see a change.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I just think, as Wheezy said, there's no one really in their corner anymore to listen to the storylines and to either agree with them or push back and say, no, we're not doing this. Whereas at the moment, it kind of just feels like they're just having to do everything that creative is giving them and not really getting a chance to say, well, this doesn't align with us as women, or this isn't something that we would do, or, there's no personability to what's actually going on.
And Sasha and Naomi walking out are a huge testament to that being exactly what's happening. They were just the two that had the guts and the time to do it.
Yeah.
I don't, after hearing everything, I don't blame them. Yeah. I kind of feel like when that happened, I feel like a part of women's wrestling, and it sounds extreme me saying this, but I feel like a part of women's wrestling died when that happened. Them leaving and them stepping away and them having the courage to move on. Like I said, it really left a big hole in WWE's women's division that I still feel like to this day they don't know how to fill, because you can still feel the presence and the essence of Naomi and Sasha Banks there, and they just don't know how to move on from that, or they don't know how to fix the hole, or they don't even, I don't even think they know where they went wrong with that and where they can improve on. So I think them taking some time to sit back and actually self-reflect would be very beneficial in a circumstance like this, because at the end of the day, you're just going to drive a whole lot of people off the product if you're not going to be able to cater to things that they want to see. And, at the end of the day, like, it's about emotion and it's about invoking feeling. And I feel like if you're not giving us something to care about, whether we love it or hate it, they're not doing their job. But yeah, the last two questions were obviously about the mid-card title and about having women in charge, but I feel like we really touched on that during our conversations, which that's awesome, because an open conversation is always a good conversation. G, do you have anything else to add? Does anyone else have any comments, anything they want to say before we potentially finish up the episode? Awesome. Okay. Well, that's the Outcasted OC's podcast talking about women's wrestling and content creation, and obviously where we want to see women's wrestling go. Do you guys want to plug your socials, Wheezy and Jazmin, so that people know where to find you? We'll obviously include them in the comments in the description down below, but if you guys want to let everyone know where they can find you.
Sure. Go ahead, Jazmin.
So you can find me at Jazmin Wrestling on TikTok and Instagram.
Very good. And you, Wheezy?
You can find me on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. My username is Wheezy Blonde. You can also find me on Instagram and Twitter with It's Wheezy Blonde. There's an it's at the beginning of my name.
Nice. Gee, do you have anything else you want to add before we finish up?
No, I just want to say thank you to these two wonderful women for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Ross and Reese, for taking a back seat this week, because you obviously would have had a lot to say, but it's nice to bring other people in and get a different perspective and experience. They will be here next week, though, unfortunately. They will be talking about Star Wars. Us women will be taking a break from the podcast next week. Thank God for that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming in and being a part of the conversation and sharing your experiences and how you feel. It definitely helps to greater open the conversation, because I feel like we can't start to fix these problems if we don't have more people opening up and talking about these things. It's so important that we use our voices and our platforms for good and for helping rather than for being negative and diminishing. So I really want to thank you guys for coming on and sharing what you've shared during this episode. Me and G really appreciate it. So yeah, that is the episode done. Make sure that if you like what we did in this episode and you want to follow more of what we do on the Outcast at OC, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts in the comments down below on how you felt that the episode went. If you have any thoughts on what we have to say, as I said, next week we will be having a boys-only episode for Star Wars, and we'll be putting up our weekly reviews for NXT, SmackDown, Raw, and are we doing Impact next week too? What have we got coming up, Jay?
I'm not entirely sure. I know we have SmackDown, Raw, and NXT. I'm not sure where the Impact stands at the moment.
All right. All good. Well, that's everything. So we will see you guys in the next podcast. We hope you have a really good day, really good night, whatever time it is for you guys. So, yeah. All right, bye, guys. It's still live.